Light Yagami survive the deadliest horror killers? He's a mass murderer who can kill anybody just by writing their name in his notebook. But how much does that really help him when he's going up against a maniac with a chainsaw? Or when he's going up against a serial killer that'll murder anyone that gets in his way? Or even the killer that's so disturbing that it made me contemplate even making this video. Let's start with Leatherface, big guy, chainsaw, the whole shebang. He wears people's faces as masks, you know, the typical Texas stuff. Here's the setup: Light Yagami with his death note versus a guy who's basically a human bulldozer with mommy issues. The problem starts immediately. Light needs two things to kill someone: their face and their name. Well, good news, Light. Leatherface always shows his face. Oh wait, no he doesn't. He wears other people's faces as masks. Good luck figuring out what he actually looks like under there. But let's say Light somehow gets past this hurdle. He somehow figures out a way to get this mask off this guy. What's Leatherface's real name? Bubba Sawyer? Thomas Hewitt? Depends which movie we're talking about. And I guarantee you it's not listed in any criminal database Light has access to. The Sawyer family doesn't exactly file their tax return. Even if Light somehow saw Leatherface's real face and learned his name, there's a small problem of actually writing it down before the chainsaw splits him in half. Light's not exactly known for his quick reflexes or physical prowess. His biggest athletic achievement was playing tennis that one time. Light's best bet? Stay away from rural Texas. If he somehow stumbled onto Leatherface's territory, he'd be turned into furniture before he could even say, "I'll take a potato chip and I'll eat it." The only scenario where Light wins is if he somehow gets Leatherface's information ahead of time and writes his name down from the safety of his bedroom. But since Leatherface doesn't exactly have a LinkedIn profile, I'm giving the round to the chainsaw guy. Sorry, Light. Speaking of people that would make Light wet his perfectly ironed pants, let's talk about Jack Torrance, the guy with the axe in a hotel full of ghosts. Jack Torrance from The Shining presents a whole different challenge. On paper, this should be easy for Light. Jack's a writer with public records, a known face, and probably a social security number. Light could write his name down no problem. But here's the twist: Jack isn't just Jack. He's got the entire Overlook Hotel working through him. The hotel is the real killer, and Jack is just its meat puppet. Can the Death Note kill a haunted hotel? I seriously doubt that's covered in the rulebook. Ryuk would probably just laugh his creepy laugh and eat another apple while Light gets axed to death. The real question is, if Light wrote Jack Torrance in the Death Note, would it even work? The hotel's ghost might just keep Jack's corpse moving like a spooky marionette. All work, no play. Jack a dead boy. Doesn't have the same ring to it, but the hotel probably doesn't care. Light's big brain solution might be to burn down the hotel, but that would require actually doing something physical, which isn't really his style. He prefers to write names down while making intense eye contact with nothing, like right now. If Light did somehow kill Jack, the hotel would just find another caretaker to possess. It's been doing this for decades. The hotel plays the long game, and Light would eventually run out of pages in his Death Note. But let's be real though. Light would absolutely take the caretaker job if offered. He'd think, I can handle this haunted hotel, I am justice after all, and immediately get possessed because his ego is the size of Tokyo. But with this next one, we're getting into some pretty interesting stuff. Hannibal Lecter versus Light Yagami, battle of big brains with questionable morals. This one's tricky because Hannibal isn't just a physical threat, he's a psychological one. And as much as Light thinks he's a genius, Hannibal would read him like a children's book. On paper, Light has the advantage. Hannibal Lecter is a known criminal with a face and name on record. Easy for the Death Note. But that assumes Light knows Hannibal is coming for him. Hannibal wouldn't announce himself. He'd observe Light from afar, learn his pattern, maybe even figure out the Death Note's secret. Remember, this is the guy who can smell when someone has a rare disease. He'd probably smell the death magic on Light's hands or whatever. I don't know. What would that smell like? Chips? Light wouldn't notice Hannibal was following him till it was too late. Now let's not forget, Hannibal is charming, disturbingly charming. He might just befriend Light, convince him they're two intellectuals on the same level. Light's ego would eat that up faster than Hannibal would, well, eat people. The real horror, they might actually get along. Imagine Light and Hannibal teaming up. One with a Death Note, one with surgical precision in a recipe book. That's not a horror movie, that's just a Tuesday night dinner party where nobody makes it to dessert. If Light was smart, which he thinks he is, but he's not always, he'd write Hannibal's name down immediately from very, very far away. Any other scenario ends with Light as the special for the day. Speaking of people that would make great dinner companions for Hannibal, let's talk about Wall Street's worst employee. American Psycho's Patrick Bateman seems like an easy target for Light. He's a public figure with business cards that he's weirdly proud of. Light could find his name and face in any Wall Street directory. But here's where it gets weird. Is Patrick Bateman actually killing people, or is it all in his head? I first watched this movie with my friends because we heard it was trending because of all the the Sigma stuff, and we wanted to laugh at it. That movie's pretty weird and messed up though. Anyways, if Light writes down the name of someone who only imagines they're a killer, is that really justice? Not that Light's moral compass points anywhere useful. Let's assume Bateman is actually killing people. Light writes his name, Bateman dies, justice served, boring. But what if Bateman isn't killing anyone? Then Light's just killed some random Wall Street guy with mental health issues. Not very God of the New World of you, Light. The real kicker is that Bateman and Light would probably hate each other on sight. Two massive egos with killer hobbies? They'd be comparing business cards and murder methods within minutes. The scenario only gets interesting if they somehow end up in the same room before Light could use the Death Note. Bateman's got an axe while he's doing whatever this is behind me, and Light's got a pen and a god complex. My money's on whoever can move their arms the fastest. But then Norman Bates presents a fascinating problem for a Death Note wielding high schooler. If Light writes Norman Bates in the Death Note, which personality dies? Norman or Mother? It's like trying to kill just one half of a Twinkie. Can't. It's all one messed up dessert. The Death Note rule don't cover dissociative identity disorder. Light would probably argue with Ryuk about it while Norman sneaks up behind him in a dress. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. But what if the human is kind of two humans in one body? Light didn't study for this test. Light's best bet would be just to write Norman's name and hope both personalities drop dead. But knowing Light, he'd get all philosophical about it first. Is Mother a separate entity? Does she deserve her own judgment? What would be truly just? Meanwhile, Norman's in the bathroom replacing Light's soap with something that's not soap. Yeah. The real problem is that Norman seems harmless at first. Light might not even register him as the threat until it's shower time. By then, it's too late to write anything down with wet, soapy hands. Why do I keep writing these words? By then, it's too late to write anything down with his wet, soapy hand. If they met at the Bates Motel, Light would be so busy judging the outdated decor that he wouldn't notice Norman's, hobbies until the shower curtain flies open. Death Note 0, kitchen knife 1. Now we're getting into supernatural territory, and the Death Note starts to show its limitations. Candyman isn't just a guy with a hook for a hand and bees in his chest cavity. He's a vengeful spirit summoned by saying his name 5 times in a mirror. You know what doesn't work on vengeful spirits? Death Notes. The Death Note kills humans. Candyman used to be a human, but now he's basically a ghost with a PR team. Writing Candyman in the Death Note would be like trying to kill a sandwich, not alive in the first place. Light's smart enough to realize this, but arrogant enough to try anyway. He'd probably write Candyman in the Death Note, nothing would happen, and then he'd say it 5 times in a mirror just to prove there's no such thing as ghosts. 10 seconds later, hook hand, bees everywhere, and a very dead Light Yagami. They'd find him with a Death Note full of crossed out Candyman entries and a very confused look on his face. The only way that Light wins this one is if he's smart enough to stay away from mirrors and never ever say Candyman out loud. Knowing Light's love for dramatic monologues, that's not happening though. Light's completely dead and doesn't stand a chance against this disturbing entry, but you thought we were done? Pinhead would like a word about Light's adorable little notebook. If you thought Candyman was a problem for the Death Note, Pinhead is where Light's little book becomes about as useful as a grocery list. Pinhead isn't just supernatural, he's from another dimension entirely. He's a Cenobite, an explorer of extreme sensation, and the Death Note's rules probably don't extend to whatever hell dimension he calls home. Let's break down why Light is completely screwed here. First, is Pinhead even his real name? No, it's not. His human name was Elliot Spencer, but the guy's long gone. Writing either name would be like trying to delete an email after it's been printed out. The connection no longer exists. Second, the Death Note kills humans by stopping their hearts. Do Cenobites even have hearts? Their anatomy seems to consist mostly of leather, pins, and existential horror. Third and most importantly, Pinhead doesn't just kill. He takes your soul to a dimension of eternal torture. The Death Note can't protect against that. It's like bringing a knife to a soul-stealing fight. The only interaction between Light and Pinhead would be if Light somehow got his hands on the laminate configuration puzzle box. Knowing Light, he'd solve it immediately to prove how smart he is. The box opens, chains and hooks fly out, and Light gets dragged to the Cenobite dimension where the Death Note is just another piece of paper. It's game over for him. There's literally no scenario where Light wins against Pinhead. The best he could hope for is never encountering him in the first place, which is technically not losing, but definitely not winning either. So where does this leave our potato chip eating, name writing, justice-obsessed teenager? Mostly dead, it turns out. Light Yagami might be able to take out ordinary criminals from the safety of his bedroom, but the moment he's faced with killers who operate outside the near little rules of his Death Note, he's in big trouble. The Death Note is powerful, but it has limitations, and those limitations become very apparent when you put Light up against killers who aren't just faces on news broadcasts. So next time you're watching Death Note and thinking Light is unstoppable, think again. Remember, there's always a bigger fish, or in this case, a chainsaw-wielding cannibal, a possessed writer, and a lot more where that came from. If you enjoyed watching me destroy Light's ego on paper, or on video, I guess, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below what killer you want to see on this series next, and click this video on screen right now, because if you like this one, you're definitely gonna like that one.